Tran discovered that some bones had cranial thickening, a sign that could indicate the cause of Wadi's death. The shape of the lower limb bones was also not good. As the knees were bent inward, Dr. Cheyenne, an anthropologist, compared Wadi's bones with those of others inside the tomb and believed that this family might have suffered from certain diseases. I think Wadi was sick. These bones are not healthy, and he probably endured a lot of pain. But this particular bone could be a sign of anemia. We can also consider some types of disease or epidemic. The most likely possibility is malaria. It affected this family as well, as the mother's skeleton showed a similar shape. If that's true, it would change the entire history of ancient Egypt. The story of Wati's tomb comes to a close here, but many questions remain unanswered. In a way, the journey to uncover Wati's tomb mystery has inadvertently led us to many new and strange pieces of knowledge, new discoveries about the religious culture of ancient Egypt. Antarctica, a land of mysteries buried under centuries of eternal ice. Music. Over the past 50 years, there have been frequent reports of strange pyramid-like structures, mysterious entrances appearing deep within the eternal ice, and unidentified flying objects. Unusual events recorded in the past have raised countless difficult questions about the coldest land on Earth. Some people have gone to Antarctica and seen things they shouldn't have seen. Clearly, something is being hidden beneath that ice that we still do not know about. It could be the remains of an ancient civilization that once flourished, a secret alien base, or the site of research activities beyond human imagination involving extraterrestrial beings. All of this will be revealed in the next 30 minutes of the video Horrifying Mysteries Beneath Antarctica's Ice, thanks to Helios, the handcrafted men's jewelry brand. For accompanying CD team, please subscribe to the channel and support Helios products. Helios offers unique pieces designed and crafted by Vietnamese artisans, aiming to bring Vietnamese craftsmanship to the world stage. In November 1995, a U.S. Navy pilot named Brian, along with his crew, was flying a C-130 aircraft at very low altitude around the Mary Bland area. This area is in southern Antarctica, where 15 scientists were conducting research. The C-130 approached the Antarctic base from another base called McMurdo, a few hundred kilometers to the east. The reason for this mission was the mysterious disappearance of the scientists working there. Their task was to contact the McMurdo station daily and report their research results. However, for several days, no signals had been transmitted. All participants were from national scientific organizations, and their disappearance could have unpredictable consequences. The area they were researching has extremely harsh weather conditions. There were no dangerous predators nearby. Therefore, it is almost impossible that they left the base due to an attack. Even if they went outside for research, survival without protective gear would not exceed an hour. The aircraft flew in progressively smaller circles to ensure it didn't miss any area while searching for the scientists. Despite good weather and optimal visibility, no signs were found. Finally, the C-130 landed, and the rescue team was ordered to inspect the base. Normally, when a large, noisy object, like a transport plane, lands at a base, at least a few people would run out to observe. However, the base now appeared completely abandoned. The scientists had only arrived about a week earlier, Although they had enough food, water, and even snacks for over a month, they had now vanished without a trace. Personal belongings and property showed no signs of theft or damage. The rescue team checked the control room and communication equipment. Everything was normal and stable. They even used the equipment precisely to report their own position. No one was found, nor were there any bodies. Everything seemed normal, and there was no indication of conflict. Please advise what the team should do next. Clearly, you have no clues to determine the next step. The rescue team returned to the plane to head back to the McMurdo base. Before leaving, the aircraft likely continued flying in a circular pattern with an ever-expanding radius to ensure nothing was missed. Antarctica is a dangerous place. Every year, people go missing and lose their lives there. No one is completely safe in such an extreme environment. While everyone was discussing how to search for the mysteriously missing scientists, they suddenly reappeared more than a week later. The rescue team and the C-130, under emergency orders, returned to the Mary Bland base. Those who had just returned sent out distress signals, screaming that they wanted to get out. What had happened? Music in today's world. Antarctica is the most isolated place on Earth. Human research activities have only touched a very small portion of the continent. About 98% of the land remains unexplored. No one knows what is buried under the ice, which is several kilometers thick. Yet, despite the harsh conditions and limited access, recent findings show clear signs of advanced alien technology and previously undiscovered ancient civilizations. Recent satellite images reveal several pyramid-like structures breaking through the ice. Some believe these pyramids are part of a global energy network, similar to the Great Pyramid in Egypt. Over 90 million years ago, Antarctica was a fertile and wealthy land. This is beyond dispute. However, scientists also confirm that the continent has been frozen and inhospitable for life for the past 12 million years. So who built these pyramids? First, look at this. This is the Pinkerton map, drawn in 1818. The area that should have been Antarctica is completely blank, with no annotations or markings. This means Antarctica was completely unknown at the time, essentially did not exist on maps. However, older maps accurately depict the geography of Antarctica, showing it as a lush, fertile land rather than the icy continent we know today. According to these maps, Antarctica had rich vegetation comparable to anywhere else in the world. Is this real? One such map, created in the 16th century, shows the northern coastline of Antarctica before it was covered in ice. It is hard to explain how people could have known the layout of the continent without modern surveying instruments. Like many other ancient mysteries, it suggests that a prehistoric civilization once existed in Antarctica. Interest in a prehistoric civilization in Antarctica grew after World War II. This theory is supported by medieval maps and studies by geologists and physicists. In 1929, an ancient map drawn on gazelle skin was discovered, showing geographic locations very different from today. The map's creator meticulously depicted the northern coast of Africa, the southern coast of South America, and the northern coast of Antarctica. This map is known as the Peary Race Map. The Peary Race Map is one of the most fascinating and mysterious artifacts in cartography. It is a world map drawn on gazelle skin by an Ottoman admiral and skilled cartographer named Piri. In 1513, this map astonished people with its accuracy and detail, especially in areas that were barely explored or unknown at the time. For this reason, the map has been the subject of debate for nearly a century. As mentioned, the map shows Antarctica before it was officially discovered, leading many to speculate that it may reveal ancient secrets of lost civilizations on Earth. Piri Reis was an outstanding naval officer and skilled mapmaker of the Ottoman Empire. He was born around 1465 or 1470 in Gallipoli, a port city on the Dardanelles Strait. He began a life at sea at a young age, initially serving as a government-backed privateer, essentially a licensed pirate, and then he joined the Ottoman Navy, where he rose through the ranks to become an admiral. Piri Reis participated in many campaigns and naval battles, such as the conquest of Egypt in 1517 and the siege of Rhodes in 1522. Music. Piri Reis was also deeply interested in geography and cartography. He collected numerous maps and charts from various sources, including Europe, the Arab world, China, and India. He also consulted sailors, merchants, and travelers who had visited many parts of the world, using their information to compile his own maps and books on navigation and geography. In 1513, he completed his most famous work, a world map, which he presented as a gift to Sultan Selim I, the ninth ruler of the Ottoman Empire. This map was based on around 20 different sources, some ancient and some contemporary, Spanish, Arab, and Indian cartographers. The map appears to depict South America accurately and in detail, including notes in Turkish and Arabic. The map was praised by Sultan Selim and stored in the royal treasury for many years. However, it was eventually forgotten until it was rediscovered in 1929 in the Topkapi Palace Library in Istanbul. Since then, scholars and experts have studied it, astonished by its quality and accuracy. What is especially strange is how Admiral Piri Reis could map Antarctica so accurately over 300 years before it was officially discovered. The bigger question focuses on why the map depicts Antarctica as it was before it was covered in ice in 1949. An expedition of British and Swedish scientists surveyed the southernmost part of the continent through 1.6 kilometers of ice. The results confirmed that the part of the map showing Queen Maud Land was remarkably accurate compared to modern seismic measurements. This proves that the coastline had been mapped before being covered by ice. Coincidentally, the Piri Reis map also used latitude and longitude for navigation. Historically, the first map of Earth using this method was created by John Harrison of England in 1761. Could it be that over 600 years ago, people already knew the Earth was spherical? Mainstream science holds that Antarctica's ice sheet, since the northern part of the continent is depicted as it would have been before being covered by ice. Some speculate that the map may reflect conditions from 1 million years ago. This is difficult to explain because humans did not exist at that time. Could the Piri Reis map have been based on knowledge from a civilization we have never known? In the 1979 book Maps of the Ancient Oceans, scholar Charles H. Wood suggested that Piri Reis drew on maps created by the MIS and FINA's peoples, groups with advanced cartographic skills. These maps were stored in the libraries of Alexandria and Constantinople. During the Fourth Crusade in 1204, many of these maps were transferred to Europe. According to Wood, among them were maps of the Americas, Antarctica, and the Southern Ocean. It is astonishing that ancient people could map Antarctica before it was covered in ice and measure it with such precision. The story of the Piri race map raises the hypothesis that there were civilizations with highly developed technology that disappeared long ago. In 1953, a U.S. Navy officer sent the map to the Army Map Center for measurement and comparison with modern maps. They concluded that the map's accuracy is perfect and could only have been achieved with satellite-based surveying methods. This suggests that a civilization may have existed tens of thousands of years ago, reaching a high level of development before Antarctica was buried under kilometers of ice. And our current question becomes even more complex. Where did they go? Personally, I think it's not complicated. They may still be there deep beneath the cold Antarctic ice. In fact, there is still significant evidence suggesting that an ancient civilization once existed, and perhaps still exists, in Antarctica. Indeed, the Piri race map is not the only mysterious map of Antarctica in recorded history. In 1737, Philippe B. published a map under his own name. The 18th-century French geographer drew a very detailed map of Antarctica, though some of its information remains controversial. First, Philippe B's Antarctica is depicted as two separate landmasses surrounded by many highly detailed coastlines. However, these maps were considered incorrect because the modern Antarctica, as explored by contemporary scientists, does not match what Philippe B drew. Even the original title of the map is noteworthy. Philippe B emphasized the need to clearly mark this region's position on the world map. It was not simply called Antarctica. Some sources translate the map's original French title into English as Topographical Map of Southern Lands Lying Between the Southern Tropic and the South Pole, describing the region where great discoveries from 1739 would usher in a new era for the world. Uncertainty about the publication year has also caused skepticism, as many believe Philippe B completed and released the map in 1737, while the map itself states a publication date of 1739, matching the subtitle he gave it. No one has fully explained the significance of this two-year discrepancy. Regarded as a pioneer in professional cartography in the early 18th century, Philippe B created maps that clearly delineated regional structures and opened new directions for geological research. He combined geological knowledge, specialized studies, accounts from explorers and missionaries, and daily astronomical observations to deduce different regions of the world. Some of his maps even align with modern discoveries, such as the existence of Alaska or the Bering Sea. However, his approach sparked intense debate in academic circles. Critics argued that delving so deeply into minutiae was time-consuming, required complex surveying methods, and often proved inefficient in areas with limited data. Additionally, not all of Philippe B's deductions were correct. One notable example concerns his depiction of the Southern Ocean in the center of the South Pole, which does not actually exist. Somehow, Philippe B accurately mapped the terrain of Antarctica as it was in the distant past, a time when many scientists believe the continent was entirely ice-free. Even more intriguingly, His map shows the frozen waterways of the Transantarctic Mountains on the Antarctic continent as two separate lands, called West Antarctica and East Antarctica. In the 1966 book, Ancient Sea Maps, author Charles H. Wood, the same scholar mentioned earlier, suggested that Felipe B. had gathered mysterious information about a highly advanced civilization that once existed in Antarctica. Some even speculate that extraterrestrials with the ability to perceive terrain contributed to these massive maps. Additionally, some scientists believe Felipe B's map was based on older maps. However, the fact that he correctly located the Canary Islands and the surrounding plateau is puzzling. This suggests that precise topographical data had to exist before the glaciers melted and sea levels rose, allowing Felipe B to successfully draft the Canary region. When version 1.0 of the map remained mysterious, researchers discovered a version 2.0 inches featuring French annotations, hinting at conjecture or doubt. Some argue that these sources show Felipe B reconstructing his understanding of Antarctica's geography. He likely consulted older maps and collected information from explorers about drifting ice in the southern regions, leading him to believe in the existence of a distant southern continent. Personally, I maintain the view that this region was once not a frozen wasteland like today. It may have once hosted a civilization possibly more advanced than ours. In reality, no one knows the exact structure beneath Antarctica's thick ice today, making it difficult to confirm whether Felipe B's map is truly accurate. Even the Piri Reis map may not be entirely accurate. But today, we are not only exploring Antarctica's ancient mysteries. Returning to the story from the beginning of the video, Brian's C-130 rescue team was mobilized to return to Mary Bland to pick up the scientists who had just reappeared. When they arrived, they saw that all the scientists had quickly packed up all their important equipment and were rushing toward the plane. The scene was tense, as if something would kill or torture them if they didn't leave immediately. The scientists boarded the aircraft in complete silence. No one spoke even a word. When the flight crew asked what had happened, not a single person responded. Another 32-hour flight followed, the atmosphere tense and suffocating. When the C-130 landed at McMurdo, the scientists were informed that they would transfer to another plane. However, for some reason, they seemed reluctant to move. Someone had to board the plane, unbuckle each person, and escort them individually. These individuals had certainly witnessed something traumatic and were suffering severe PTSD by current definitions. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, encompasses reactions in people who have experienced or witnessed events threatening their life or safety, such as car accidents, serious injuries, assaults, sexual violence, crimes, war-related events, torture, or natural disasters like wildfires or floods. Most people who experience trauma will have post-traumatic reactions. However, for some, these reactions do not subside within days or weeks, continuing to disrupt daily life. Thus, our scientists boarded the second plane in silence, and then they disappeared from sight. Their research was stored in a highly secure warehouse. The rescue team was strictly forbidden from entering under any circumstances. All other equipment returning from Antarctica was quickly isolated and sealed until transferred elsewhere. At the time, no one knew the devices would be sent to Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. For context, Patterson Air Force Base is known for storing many classified documents related to unidentified flying objects, UFOs, and reports of sightings from 1947 to 1969. Brian's rescue team was called into the command office, where two men in suits arrived from Washington, D.C. THEY warned the entire flight crew not to disclose this incident to anyone, including family members. Officially, no scientists were missing, no rescue mission had occurred, and none of what they had experienced was real. The crew accepted this in silence. It was not the first time they had been required to remain silent. About 10 years earlier, in the same room, a similar event had occurred with Brian. However, that meeting concerned what crew members had seen deep underground, rather than equipment or personnel on the surface. In 2003, a Navy team was deployed from McMurdo to the BM Glacier. Officially, they were on a routine observation mission as scheduled. In reality, it was an escort mission for scientists to gather additional research data and ensure their safe return. The team commander, nicknamed Spartan, made it clear that the research was extremely important. At all cost, Sivan, risking the team's lives, they had to protect the scientists. The escort team agreed. Though they felt the request was extreme, they saw that these scientists were just one group among dozens collecting information in Antarctica. While this was true, it was not enough. As the team approached the landing site, they saw the peak of a black octagonal structure protruding from the thick snow. The entire team escorted the scientists to a massive door, tens of meters high, engraved with strange symbols. Some thought it resembled a star map. The door also featured a triangle intersected by two diagonal lines, a symbol appearing in many ancient cultures throughout history. Lind Mountain Hall, who interviewed Spartan and other witnesses, was shown a photo of a coin discovered in Mexico City in 1993 that bore similar symbols. The door, tens of meters high and over a meter thick, opened effortlessly as the team entered. Once the door closed behind them, everything fell into complete silence. The strange silence, combined with the immense space of the room, made everything terrifying. Spartan and his team took quite some time to traverse the hallway. The surrounding walls emitted a soft, eerie blue light and were covered with numerous special symbols resembling ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. When the scientists asked the guide how large the space was, they were told it measured 2.7 million square meters, almost equivalent to the size of Vietnam. The entire area was enormous, buried deep under the eternal ice, and this was just one of many such structures across Antarctica. At that time, the massive door was the only entrance into the structure. Years later, other entrances were discovered, but the only way to reach them was with extremely large submarines. By traveling beneath the ice, submarines could penetrate several kilometers into the continent. Unlike the upper levels that Spartan's team had accessed, these lower levels were not under human control. Those who entered were also required to remain silent about the base. Some people continue to sit and hear warnings about the consequences of leaking information prematurely. Brian, the mission to rescue the 15 scientists was not the first unusual task Brian had participated in. Since 1980, he and his crew had undertaken countless trips to Antarctica, mostly for resupply missions and transporting personnel and cargo, until one day, a special mission changed everything. Brian received word that his crew would be urgently mobilized. A scientist had been injured at Davis Station, opposite Mount M, after the medical team at McMurdo was deployed. They were ordered to take off through the mountains spanning Antarctica. This route was highly unusual. Brian and his crew flew directly over a secret air sampling station in a no-fly zone above. The plane violated the restricted airspace, placing everyone's lives at serious risk. However, what Brian likely remembered most was not the danger, but what he saw while flying. A hole, over 90 meters wide, had appeared in the ice, right next to the secret air sampling site. Clearly, significant activity had taken place there for many years. Brian and the crew could not explain why there was such a massive ice hole in the middle of that area. After safely transporting the patient back to McMurdo, the crew, following protocol, reported to the command office inside. An officer they had never seen before questioned them about their decision to violate the no-fly zone. Naturally, the crew explained that they had no better alternative. Any other route would have endangered the patient's life. The officer walked slowly, contemplating, and finally decided not to pursue charges, provided Brian's team remained under strict supervision to prevent any disclosure. Although he had never signed a non-disclosure agreement, Brian felt uneasy. He had completed hundreds of missions in Antarctica, seen UFOs, and witnessed countless strange phenomena, to the point that it felt almost routine. He agreed to the officer's terms and paid little attention to the massive ice hole until a few months later, when he overheard colleagues talking about the secret air sampling station and the enormous ice chasm. They mentioned visits to meet special guests. Curious, Brian approached them and asked about the visitors. They told him that the guests were not human and revealed that the ice hole, hundreds of meters wide, was an entrance to a secret base. Here, humans were cooperating with extraterrestrials on a special project. More precisely, they were learning from everything around them. Sometimes, even human scientists had to serve as test subjects for research purposes. This raises the question, could the scientists rescued from Mary Bland also have been used as human subjects in experiments? If so, it is not hard to imagine the horrific experiences they endured. Perhaps that is why, the moment they had the chance, they screamed and longed to return home so desperately. There are so many strange stories about Antarctica that it would be impossible to cover them all in a short video. If you want to explore any of the stories mentioned today, or any other story, let me know in the comments section below this video. I know that stories about Antarctica are often vented and laughed. As long as the earth exists, humanity will continue to explore. Learning something new is never a waste for anyone. Thank you very much for your compassion and support in today's video. Goodbye, and see you in the next one. Wishing you and your family a wonderful day.